Hey, ACT fans and MA fans, this is Will Murphy coming to you live from California. Today, we're doing our second webinar, and this is the screen capture version of it, so we can dive deeper into the software than what you guys saw last week. Our plan is to also record this so that you can have a reference point to come back to. So. Today's agenda, we're going to do about 15 minutes of showing you how to patch the desk, then program some lights, store some cues, and then a little bit of playback. Pretty basic stuff just to get you from start to finish, show you how quick this software, dot2 software operates. This is the release version of the software you're looking at. You can visit actlighting.com to download both the dot2 on PC and the dot2 3D software that you're looking at today. So if you're lucky and you have a couple monitors set up, you can follow along with me if you like, or you can certainly play with it afterwards. So for the first 15 minutes, we'll go through the software, and then for the 15 minutes following that, we'll try to jump through any questions you guys have. So let's get started. Currently, you guys are looking at the dot2 software. This is actually just the demo show. One of the first things that's nice to know about is you'll notice this software is auto scaling, and currently it's showing you the screen 1 and 2, which is just the core. You notice how I get smaller, the buttons are visible and the two screens are visible. If I stretch it all the way out here, I can see the third screen that might be on an XL console. Or you have these buttons at the top where you can see what wing screens might look like, or external monitors. Well, since everybody has different size monitors, we have this cool little button in the top right here, which is the double arrows, which is the scaling function for the software. And you have a horizontal auto option, and you have a vertical auto option that says, always display the keys. So currently, since I'm set to 2 displays, I'm always going to see 2 displays no matter how big or small the software is. I could change this to 1 display, and therefore the size of my buttons might stay big enough to read, but even if I stretch this way and this way, the second screen is kind of getting cut off. So I particularly really like the setting 2 displays, and you have a default scaling option as well if you wanted to change that, but since I'm doing an auto scaling, I'm always going to see 2 screens. So we're going to maximize this so it's hopefully easier for you to read, just to get things started. So the first thing, we're going to go to backup, and we're going to say new show. We will label this my awesome show. Although I want to save the previous one, I don't care. It was just a demo show, so I'm going to say no. So the really neat thing about the software is guiding you from start to finish. Even if you maybe never been on the MA software in the past, or if you're new to dot2, or maybe even really new to lighting, you barely know what a moving light is, you kind of know what a cue is, but you don't know what patching is. Well, right off the bat, brand new show file, it's going to tell you your show file is empty. You need to add some fixtures. To do this, please press the setup key and then patch and fixture schedule. So I'm going to find my setups key. I'll click on that and go to patch and fixture schedule. In here, the patch screen that you're looking at on the right is going to say, hey, there's no fixtures in this show. Please add some new fixtures to create some. So we will say add new fixtures. And I'm going to select a type by going to select other. You have this huge manufacturer list. You can actually use these encoders. If you have a Core or an XL with you, you could use the encoders. That would take a long time to find the right manufacturer, so I'm just going to search for a part of the name. I would like to patch some Claypacky QWO profiles. So if I search for QWO, it automatically knows what manufacturer it is, the device name, and it lists the 4 modes for the fixture. Let's say the mode of my fixture is in standard lamp on, so I'll go ahead and choose that, hit OK. Brings me back to my screen where I'm going to choose a quantity. So I could use these plus keys, for example. My ID, maybe instead of the plus keys, I want to say 101. And then we're going to say select, and we'll choose universe. Maybe it's plugged into universe 2, for example. And we hit OK. From this point, all of our settings are correct, so we go ahead and hit OK. And we see 101 through 106, and universe 2 is where these fixtures are patched to. I also might have some dimmers in my show, so I'm going to say add new. You'll notice dimmer is actually our default type. We assume that you're going to have dimmers in your show, so that's always there to help speed things up for you. Right here, I'm going to say my quantity is 10, and maybe these start at channel ID 1, and these might be plugged into universe 1. Okay, we go ahead and hit OK. And we hit OK again. And now I have 10 dimmers and 6 QWOs. And additionally, what if I have some RGB fixtures? Well, since we figure RGB and RGBAW fixtures are quite popular, we will choose these 3 dots, and notice we also automatically always include LEDs in this list. So this list, these 3 dots, are going to get us to the existing fixtures that might already exist in our show. The QWO is there because we've already used it. Additionally, a dimmer is always there, and these 3 types of LEDs are always there. So let's say I have some RGBA fixtures today, and we'll do 10 of those. I would like these to start at channel or fixture ID 201, and maybe these are in universe 3, but they don't start at address 1. Okay, maybe they start at address 61. Okay, you can use this encoder down here as well to roll through the start address to maybe speeds things up if you're on a real console. Okay, quantity of 10, ID is 201, and the start address is 3.61, which is universe 3, address 61. And you notice it auto-enumerates it for me. So there you go. I've got all my fixtures patched. I hit done. I'm going to apply all these changes. And now it takes you right to your fixture sheet. So this first screen is a very dynamic screen that's always changing in an effort to guide you through the process of programming so that you don't have to think so hard about what screens that you really want to see. They're right in front of your face all the time. So I can use my finger to drag across this screen to select these fixtures, bring them to full. I might go to Gobo. I can pick a Gobo. So these preset type buttons on the right side is how you choose the different functions that exist for that fixture. Under color, we can pick color. And there you go. Your fixtures are patched. You should have real control. An important thing now, since you just patched everything, you might want to save the show. The fastest way you can do that is just double-click backup, and it saves it that quickly. Since we don't have real fixtures right now, I'm working in a previs world. It'd be great if I had a visualizer. So lucky for you, dot2 3D is totally free. So I'm going to make dot2 on PC a little smaller, and I'll have my 3D icon over here, which is dot2 3D. Double click that, and it's going to open up the dot2 3D software. So this is a very powerful free visualizer that you can use for learning the dot2, or you can totally use it to previs your show. Okay. So over here with the dot2 software, we need to actually get dot2 3D in session. You'll notice on the top left here, it has a broken heart. It's very sad. So we'll go to setup. First, we want to pick the network interface. So if our dot2 on PC is actually communicating external to our computer, we're going to have to link it up with the Ethernet adapter that's actually on the computer itself, which is where I go to network interface and I see Ethernet 2. You don't have to worry about IP addresses with dot2. We use the new version IPv6, so there's no IP addresses to worry about. You just choose Ethernet 2, plug your Ethernet connector into your other computer that might be running dot2 3D, or maybe you want to put it in session with a real console, or maybe you have a dot2 wing that you want to use to control your dot2 software, or a dot2 node, which gives you your DMX output from on PC. Since we're running both of these softwares on the same computer, I want to use the loopback adapter, which says make them talk to each other. You just click that button. Now the softwares are using the loopback software, and now I need to start a session in order to make these talk to each other. So if I hit start new session right there, I'm going to have 4 sessions to choose from. So you can actually have 4 different sessions running on a network if you're kind of in a bigger space that has multiple studios, for example. I'm going to say new session 1. we'll go to the 3D tab and we'll hit Add, and you see I have the 3D computer or the 3D software to choose from. Get a nice little pop-up that says the station was added. It may take some seconds, and since it's in green, we know it's connected, and our little heart is in green. So now to make our 3D software useful, we're going to have to set up those fixtures. And I'm going to go back to a smaller scaling mode so you can actually see the buttons a little better. I don't need screen 2 right now. We'll hit fixture or fixture hard key in order to bring us back to our fixture sheet. And you'll notice I have my 6 QWOs here. I'm going to turn on highlights so I can see them in 3D. And you have this green arrow. I can actually click on the green arrow to lift these up. I'm going to orbit sideways so I can see blue arrow, and maybe I'll point these up stage. And then you have an align function in order to align these across the stage. Okay. I want to do the same thing with my conventionals. So I select all of those, bring them up. I'm going to bring them down stage. Okay. Also, I might want to rotate them a little bit, so I go to the rotate mode. Hopefully you saw that these little buttons up here dictate movement versus rotate. Go back to movement. I'm going to align these to center again and spread those out across my stage. And then the last fixtures you have are the LED fixtures. And you'll notice we do bidirectional communication. These programs are fully synchronized, which is why I'm able to select in the dot2 software, but actually position them in 3D. And in this particular case, I can use the properties window. Instead of this rotation function, I can just use the properties window and rotate these LEDs minus 90 degrees. Let's say maybe these are upstage, they're down a little bit towards the floor, for example, and then we'll do the same align function. Now you'll notice the LEDs are not showing a beam. Now this is actually on purpose because visualization cameras, so basically lights that are pointing at your monitor, really can kill the performance of your frames per second. You'll notice in the top left we have a frames per second. It's at 150. It's doing really well. When you shine lights directly at cameras from visualizers, it totally kills the performance. So the assumption is that if you're using LEDs as like a backdrop that's pointing at the audience, we're not going to cast a beam. The fixture profile for those LEDs dictates whether there's a beam or not. You can just email us at support@aclighting.com if you're looking for an LED profile that casts a beam, and we will totally help you out. Okay, so now my whole visualizer is all set up. So I have these lights, bring those to full. Can go through the different kind of dynamic windows that exist to program these things. We have gobos, so you can actually see, I have highlight on right now, bring it to full, you can actually see the gobos. Now there's a couple other things in 3D that's worth looking at. You'll notice the space looks kind of bright. These are based on your render settings. This is a pretty standard set of render settings. If I bring this down to about 5%, that's my ambient lighting, which makes my lights in my visualizer a lot easier to see. Additionally, if you don't have a super powerful video card and your frame rate is only at like 10, it's good to reduce the beam quality because it's going to change that frame rate. Shadows take a lot of performance, so if you turn off shadows, you can get 3D working even on a computer that doesn't have an awesome video card in it. If you have any questions about computer specs, they're available on our website, aclighting.com, in the download section, or you can always email support@aclighting.com. Okay. So your 3D setup, a very useful tool to have. We're going to make some presets now. This is where I'm going to go back to my scaling mode so I can see 2 displays. And we'll shrink down on 3D a little bit so I can see my dot2 software a little better. I first want to make some position presets. So I bring those to full. I go to position, and you'll notice my view buttons over here. I go to presets. These preset pools dynamically change based on the preset type that you're using. So if I go to position, I can see my preset pool for position. I want to make 3 presets, downstage right, center, and left. So instead of doing this method, which with encoders might be kind of boring, if you have 3D connected, you can use this mode at the top called follow mode. If I click on that, I get a red ball. I can click, and it focuses those lights over there. And then I'm able to come back to dot2 on PC and store that. And right there, I have a chance to label it. So we'll call it DSR for downstage right. Come back to 3D, I click in the center, and I have downstage center, so I'll store this over here. And we could do a longer label, downstage center. And you can also point over here on downstage left, and we'll store that here. Want to check these? Your lights are already selected, so just click on the 3 presets. You're good. Now I might want to make some colored presets. So we'll start with red. Cool thing about the color pool is that it's automatically labeling your presets for you. Now if I jump back to my fixture sheet, I have these LEDs in my show. Notice these presets don't work because the presets will only work for the lights you had selected at the time you were making them. So I have everything selected now, so I can make red, green, blue presets for anything in my rig that is capable of dealing with color. So we'll start with red. We'll overwrite this one. We're going to go to green, which includes the LEDs and the moving lights. We'll do some blue, and then we'll have a pink or magenta color. Okay, that easy to make presets. If maybe you want a strobe preset, you can go to beam and you say it's like 5 hertz, right? You store that 5 hertz, and maybe you want a random one that's 2.5 hertz. So we'll say 2.5 hertz. So that quickly you can start making your presets. Presets are useful because you're going to program your show based off the presets. So if you ever need to update focus position or color slightly or the strobe rate, you just have to update the preset instead of updating all your cues. So very quick right there. Start with a standard cue list. All right. So I might grab these 4 QWOs. I want to focus them downstage center, and I want to make them magenta. Okay. Maybe I need to, that'll be my first cue. Now you'll notice right here, no cues in the main executor exist, so use store please to create a main cue list. We're still putting in these things where we're trying to guide you in case you're a really new user. Additionally, this main cue list could be really useful for the theater that's only doing a start to finish kind of show instead of a punch show. It says store please, so this is my first look, so we'll say store please. Creates that first cue, right? In the next one, I want to bring in some of my front light with my dimmers. We start at full. Maybe I want these at 80, so I'll say at 80, and then I say store please. It will create the second cue. Okay, so now I have 2 cues, right? I clear 3 times to clear out my programmer, and I hit go, and I don't see any output because my fader's not up. So I raise my fader, and I get my output. Now I hit go, brings in the second cue. Okay. Now you'll notice there's no timing associated with that. In case you want to add timing, you just have to say this little I symbol, because I want to see this executor. It'll show you the cue list. And maybe that second cue, you want to make that 3 seconds. So you just right click or click in with your encoder, your scroll encoder, to change that timing. Okay. So if I turn off this executor, I'll hit go, brings them in, and then I hit go again, and now the dimmers are going to fade in over 3 seconds. Okay. For the next cue, I want a nice upstage color effect. So I select my LEDs, I bring them to full, I go to effect, and I want an RGB rainbow. And if I want it to be mirrored, I open my phase calculator, and I'll say mirror, and now the colors are mirrored. Now maybe I want this to happen over 1.5 seconds. In one foul swoop, I can store this next cue over 1.5 seconds. Okay, we'll hit store. Time. So we're storing with a time of 1.5 seconds, please. Okay. If I view this executor again, I get 1.5 seconds automatically in there. So clear programmer by hitting the clear key 3 times. And when I hit go into that third cue, you'll notice in 3D, it fades up over 3 seconds. Okay. So very simply, you can get your cue list going with basic steps. I mean, I think it's great. I select these two lights. Maybe we'll bring those to full. And I want one of them downstage right and the other one downstage left. Well, what's nice is I have both of them selected, and I have these awesome next previous buttons. When I hit next, you'll notice 104 is kind of a darker yellow and 103 is a brighter yellow. That indicates a sub-selection. So I make this one green, and I say position, and I go to downstage right. When I come over here, I hit next, I can go downstage left, go to color, and choose green here. And I store this as my next cue with maybe a fade of 3 seconds. So I say store time 3, please, and it creates that 4th cue for me. Say view here, and I get 4 cues. If I clear out my programmer, I'll hit go, and these lights fade into position. Now, some people prefer that their cue lists auto mark. We call that move in black. So I'll say view this executor, I get the cue list, and up on the top right, you'll see this little wrench symbol. When I hit that wrench, I have a few options for my cue list. Right here, it says MIB move in black. It's currently crossed out, which means it's not enabled. I will check that box, so it's enabled. And let's turn off this cue list and go into our first cue. Our next cue fades up our dimmers. Q3 brings in our RGB effect, and now you'll notice 103 and 104 in our fixture sheet is showing us that they're in green and they have little tiny pan tilt values. So when I hit go, those fade up into position. Okay, so that's the auto mark, or the move in black function as we call it. A couple other things you might want is possibly a bump button or a toggle button that toggles some certain lights to red, but we do that for our QWOs. I select them, I choose red, and that's what these buttons up here are for. These are your executor buttons, 101 through 106 and 201 through 206. I hit store. Let's store this to 101. I'll clear my programmer by hitting clear 3 times. When I tap on 101, it turns all those lights red. And when I tap on it again, it turns them off. That's a toggle function. In case you want to change the function of that, this title bar up here that says executor, I can click on that. And this is that executor. There's a wrench. We choose a wrench. It's currently set to toggle. I can click on that button to change it to a flash button. And now when I tap on 101, as I click down, they're red. When I release, they go away. Now, executor is not a very handy label, so this is where our label key becomes helpful. I want to label this. All of our syntax works in terms of a do this here process. So I want to label something, I want to label, and then click on what I want to label, and we'll label that red. So now this executor has a red title bar. I know that when I hold it, it's going to flash onto red, and when I release, it's not going to be red anymore. Okay? Now I want to turn off everything. I don't know what's running. I just want to turn it all off. You can hold the MA key, which on PC it will latch on automatically for you, but on a real console you're going to hold MA. Tap on off, and you get this pop-up. It gives you the option to clear your programmer or choose everything off, which turns off all your running playbacks. Okay. Maybe I want a submaster for these moving lights. This would be like a punch show functionality or club, for example. So I'm going to store that to executor 3, which is actually a fader. Clear 3 times. When I bring this fader, I totally missed a step. I forgot to turn the lights on. First we turn the lights on, and then we store to executor 3. I need to overwrite this cue. And now when we clear, the lights are on, the lights are off. So now the fader is controlling the intensity. And then I have this flash button up here that I could use to flash these lights. Okay. So that could be a submaster. That could be a way in your club to just modify the intensity, and then you have a button over here that flashes those red. Another thing you might deal with in your punch show or your rock and roll show, you might want a cue list that chases through 4 colors. Well, let's do this with our QWOs again. We'll select those. We want the first color to be red. So we'll store this on executor 103. I want the second color to be green. So we'll store that to the same executor 103. I get a pop-up that says create second queue. So we create second queue. My next color will be blue. So I choose blue, store to 103 again, and then magenta, and store to 103 again. And remember how we use this little eyeball to look at the main executor? We do the same thing for any other executor. If I want to see executor 103, I can see that I have 4 queues, but the button defaults to a toggle function. So we already talked about that. We're going to click on this title bar, go to the wrench, and then we're going to change it to maybe a go button. Now that it's a go button, when I click on this, it steps through the colors. And our queue list is still open. Remember that same wrench symbol that where we enabled move in black? If we go back to this wrench, we have an option to say is chaser. Okay. And now when I hit go, it's going to automatically chase through my queue list. And the last really neat function that exists is another method of store known as store look. Maybe I'm working on my main queue list and I want to get my next queue. I want this, my lights are at 50 based on that executor. I'm going to send a go command to executor 101 so it's in red. And then I'm going to go to position and choose downstage center. Okay, maybe a little brighter. Now I'm using a combination of executors, programmer via the preset, and this red executor to create this look. This is what I want my 5th queue to be in my main executor. So I'm going to hold MA on the console and tap store. You get store look in your command line. Here's where I want to store it. When I view this, oops, wrong click, I want to say view this. I see 5 queues. So I'm going to hit clear 3 times, turn this off. We want to turn off this executor. We'll say go. Go once more. Okay. We're in Q3 now. We're in Q4. And now in Q5, it's going to be the red downstage center because store look captures everything that you see on stage. Okay. It doesn't matter what's going on in the previous queue. When you recall that queue, it's going to look like how you created it. A very handy tool for quickly getting something built. Okay. So there you go, start to finish. Patching, setting up 3D, storing some presets, and playing back your queues. If you guys have more questions, we're going to keep doing these weekly webinars. If you have questions that you want answered right away, go ahead and email support@actlighting.com. Let me look at a few of these questions that are in the list. If we don't answer your question, you have support@actlighting.com for technical questions, and you have sales@actlighting.com for any kind of sales or pricing information. So I see that someone is asking about prices for the dot2 pricing. Go ahead and email sales@actlighting.com or contact your local dealer for pricing. Is there a way to create new macros is a question I see on the list. Macros are available right here. They're currently all just predefined. Okay, we haven't seen a strong need for custom macros. The dot2 user, the target user that we have, technically doesn't know anything about macros. So it's possible that the person that asked that question, maybe you're a Gramma 2 user. Yes, Gramma 2 macros, you use them all the time. In the dot2, we don't expect the user yet to need a lot of macros, but it's certainly on our debate list. It just wasn't really a strong version 1 thing to be able to build your own, but it will be something we keep looking at in the future. It looks like, how does the dot2 software versus the full-size Gramma 2 software? What's the main difference? Gramma 2 is a fully customizable software that is adaptable to any market. It's adaptable to any way of thinking. That is what makes it so popular. That's what makes it so powerful. But there's a lot of shows out there that don't need all that customization. They just need cleverness that exists from MA, and that's what dot2 is. We took all the clever features for the last 25 years of MA2 and put it in a smaller package. We did look at every single market, theater, rock and roll, corporate, club, all the above. We took the best things that we know about from those markets and put them into the dot2 in a streamlined package. Additionally, we picked the best workflow, and we're guiding the user. So that's a big difference. You really have to look at your user. That's what it's all about. The dot2 is an 8-universe platform. It has effects. You have a couple of store options that are really all you need for 2 different kinds of markets. You have expandability that are button wings and fader wings. So you can get that club market happy. The pages, you have lots of pages for the rock and roll, so where you can do, a different page per song. It's kind of hard to say either is better than the other. They're both great. It's just kind of who's using the product. And Grandma 2 is somebody that's doing lighting programming full time and needs a very specific kind of arrangement and layout. dot2 might not be for the guy that's doing lighting every day. It's definitely applicable to the education market. So hopefully that answers your question. You're more than welcome to call us at our main number on our website, actlighting.com, or if you have other questions about the differences, just email support@actlighting.com. So the size of the integrated touchscreens is the next question. They're about 6 inches by 4 inches. However, you do get an external DVI port. That external port supports the ELO touch technology. So, for example, we use the ELO 2201, which is about a 22-inch touchscreen. You can actually view this in the software over here. There's different arrangements for the external screen from the setup menu. I can go select views for external. I can do single, split horizontally, split vertically, one large one across the top and 2 small ones. I could say, section 2 is a groups pool. Number 3 might be a queue list. Go to quad, so I have 4. So maybe this will be presets. This window is presets. This one is presets. This one is presets. So I have position. These all look like positions right now. To lock these into place, that's what this little pin symbol is for. So this one will be a position pool. Then this one I will pin color. And this one I will pin beam. So now my external screen has a permanent position, color, and beam pool because of that little pin function. And if we go back to the second monitor, you get the same thing in this presets window. You also have a pin there. So your external monitor doesn't have to be a touch screen, but it can be. And if you want a really large touch area, you totally plug in an external touch screen. Looks like another question came in. How do I feel about the comparison of the ETC Ion and this console? Every console on the market has the capability of doing lights. It's just how you get there. I know the Ion can do moving lights. I used to use it myself. It's just all about the features. What was it really designed for? MA has always been known for doing really well with moving lights. So you have to look at all the features. That's all. I can't really say one's better than the other. It's about your market, who you're dealing with. We do know that Grandma 2 is all over the world in all kinds of shows. And dot2, for example, is a pathway to that. If you're using the dot2, you're going to learn the MA style of syntax. You're going to learn what kind of views you need to see, and it's going to be a lot easier to jump up to a grammar 2. Or I could say, you know, going from an ion to a grammar 2 is going to be kind of a difficult jump. Okay, so it looks like about 30 minutes, you guys. Thank you for joining us today. If your questions did not get answered, go ahead and email support@acolyting.com and we will get those taken care of for you. Thanks for joining us. Visit acolyting.com/webinars to sign up and stay informed about future webinars. Tell your friends about it. And on that form that you fill out, if you happen to be a Grammar 2 user, you'll have the choice to choose what webinar announcements you hear, whether it's related to Grammar 2 software, dot2 software, or 3D software. And also that form can be used to keep you informed about software updates. So thanks for joining. Talk to you later.